What's up, everybody? Welcome back to more MSQ playthrough. We are in post Endwalker. We just finished up Alzadal's legacy. Sheesh. Sheesh. Void gates and fissures are much the same thing in practice, in the sense that both allow passage between the source and the 13th. I was right. Last video we talked about the shards and stuff. The difference in terminology refers to the circumstance of their creation. So you've got void gates and you've got fissures. And I think in the source we have void gates, and in the 13th they are called fissures. A fissure is an incidental tear in the fabric between worlds, whereas a void gate is the product of deliberate action. Just kidding. I suspect this is the latter, judging by the elaborate mechanism put in place to control it. To think that our search for material riches would lead to this priceless discovery, that swirling emptiness, it puts me in mind of old friends, not to mention old foes.
I must admit, I am deathly curious to know how a void gate came to be hidden in the depths of these ruins.
To tell that tale, we must first peer far to the south, and even further into memory. An age 5 millennia passed when the Algan Empire sent an invading force to the shores of Merasidia. The southern people rallied around the commanding figures of Bahamut and Tiamat and fought fiercely to repel the would-be conquerors. With Bahamut's defeat, however, the tide turned against them. Desperate to seize any advantage, the Mercidians resorted to summoning primal entities. In response, Emperor Zande forged a covenant with the Cloud of Darkness, sovereign among the all-devouring denizens of the Void. Thus bolstered by icons on one side and Void Scent on the other, the two armies clashed in a battle of unspeakable carnage. So much death, so much loss.
I consider myself well versed in that period of history, yet you speak as one who witnessed it happen.
Indeed, I did. I heard Tiamat's roar of defiance and sped toward that war-torn land. Along with my sibling, Ashdaya. We dragons are not male or female as men are wont to classify, but elder sister is the closest a mortal tongue can come to describing what she meant to me. I was the last of our brood to hatch, and Ashdaya cared for me where my sire could not. Thus I was with her when Tiamat roared. I was with her when she journeyed south, and I was with her when she fought against the Void-sent hordes. Yet no matter how many of their vile fiends we cast down, more rose from the abyss to take their place. Faced with an unwinnable war of attrition, Ashdaya risked her all on a final gamble. She plunged through the Void Gate itself to strike at the root of their strength. I tried to follow in her wake, determined to lend what aid I could. But even as I came upon Alag's glittering tower, I saw the rift close behind her. An Ashdaya has been lost to us ever since.
I find I must retract my earlier claim of historical knowledge. Nowhere in the Crystal Tower's archives did I see mention of such noble sacrifice.
That does not surprise me. To Allagan eyes, it must have seemed as if a lone dragon, driven to madness, simply dove through the gate and did not return. For my part, I spent long years searching for the means to reunite with Ashdaya. Until I could search no more. Until Allag was dust, and the arts to open a void gate large enough to accommodate a dragon forever lost.
Yet you have the beginnings of a gate right here, under the control of a harnessed device.
My discovery came before Radzat-Han was founded. Though I scoured the lands for a method to cross the rift, it was beneath the sea that I chanced to find a natural planar fissure. It was, however, far too narrow to admit a worm's bulk. Only after our city rose upon the rock, and I could enlist the aid of our talented alchemists, did matters take a favorable turn. Their dedication was beyond reproach. Tirelessly, they worked to expand the fissure, and after decades of toil, it finally grew to a size that a child might pass through.
Not long ago, you told us that you called out to your kin, that Ashdaya's answer was silence. I suspect the conclusion to your tale is not a joyful one.
With hope in my heart, I used the simulacrum to cross the threshold. But no, I did not find her. What I found was a host of void scent, clamoring around the opening they had sensed. 'Twas but a moment, but enough. I had no choice but to retreat and allow the portal to contract once more.
The gate was a threat to your people. You had to decide between endangering Radzat-Han and abandoning your sister. You chose the latter.
'Twas not that thy siblings scorned thy call. 'Twas that she was trapped beyond a barrier through which neither roar nor dragon may pass. Even now, in the desolate world of the 13th.
I can scarce imagine your pain, yet it was wise not to linger in that place. Too long a sojourn, and even a being of your power risks being warped into a creature of the void. You've seen this phenomenon before, when we stepped into the darkness.
I remember when Nero turned purple.
Turned purple? Well, yes. His wounds had allowed the void's corruption to enter his body and twist his ether. Had it been allowed to progress much longer, I presume he would have been fully transformed.
Then there is little hope for Ashdaya.
Ah, no. I hadn't meant to. I speak only of possibilities. The scales of the first brood are extraordinarily resistant to ethereal fluctuations. They are the protective talisman's core components after all, and even the corruption I described would struggle to overcome. Of course. With the warding scale in one's possession, one could conceivably survive a stay in the 13th without being warped by its energies.
Be that as it may, it is too late to rescue my sister. 5,000 years too late. And now countless others look to me for guidance and protection. So when I sensed intruders in the ruins, I came only to ensure that the gate remained closed. That, and to secure the treasure, of course. wish only to forget the rest.
So they managed not only to expand the fissure, but also manipulate it as one might a gate. Astonishing. Is there any chance I could learn more of how this feat was accomplished? I will tell you what I can. First, however, I must return to the High Crucible and arrange to replace the guardians you so handily destroyed. It will not do to leave the gate undefended. My apologies. We were perchance a touch zealous in our rush to uncover the vault's secrets. If the constructs can be repaired, we would happy to offer our assistance. That will not be necessary. Much as I retain spare vessels for myself, we keep duplicate guardians on hand for such eventualities. In any case, we should return to Razatan. Come on, loading screen. I know there's a bajillion people at Razatan right now. I promise we will discuss the Void Gate further, but first I must attend to the matter of the Vault Sentinels. As your instruments have no doubt informed you, the Kapikulu has been reduced to so much scrap. Please bring a new one out of storage and see that it is conveyed to its post along with some few lesser constructs. Was it tomb robbers? Friends born of the Tower of Zot? By the sisters, do not tell me a blasphemy yet roams free. Why such guilty faces? Surely it wasn't you who were responsible for this. Oh. Well, the details aren't important. I shall see it done immediately. And with that, the vault will soon be secure once more. Now, I believe you had questions? Quite a few, in fact, but I'd like to begin with the gate itself. It is still functional, yes? Indeed, which is why I saw it sealed with an alchemically forged lock and warded it with my magics. Such power must not fall into the wrong hands. In truth, the primary reason for the vault's construction was to keep the gate hidden from the outside world. So much effort for such a little door. That little door you speak of leads to an abyss teeming with unspeakable horrors. That said, in its current state, it would only admit only the lowliest of void sent, and from this side no man would be able to pass through. No man? I should think Alphanode would fit, given a firm enough push. Physical size is only of one consideration. The true restriction hinges upon the etheric density of the soul in transit. And yet you succeeded in expanding this diminutive portal and sending your simulacrum to the 13th. Thanks to my brilliant alchemists, I should have destroyed the anomaly when I found it, but instead, I bade them devise a means to control it. After much experimentation, they accomplished the impossible. A method was conceived by which my magics could manipulate the fissure and transform it into a serviceable gate. but the process has long since been forgotten. Once I had given up searching for Ajdaya, there was no need to preserve such esoteric and dangerous knowledge. Thus has the gate lain dormant for years uncounted. Our own passage to the 13th was made relatively simple thanks to the Crystal Tower. An ancient mechanism channeled the tower's vast stores of energy to open a void gate, one bound to covenant made with the Cloud of Darkness. Once that sovereign entity was beaten back, however, the covenant was broken and the doorway severed from its connection to the void. Theoretically, it should be possible to reconnect the gate by forging a new pact with another void sent, but such deals usually ended betrayal and death. In any case, we should attempt to gain an understanding of the Bounty Gate. Mayhap you could resume the search for your sister. As I have already explained, I put those futile hopes to rest centuries ago. My place and my duty is here now. I had meant to ask, what prompted you to search for the vault in the first place? See if the legends were true. As you have seen, the fabulous wealth from the stories is quite real, if not its rumored origin, but I'm afraid I must assert a prior claim. I've been adding to that trove for years, little by little, but the time has come to spend it that I might alleviate my people's suffering. And we are of one mind. We had no intention of taking it for ourselves. Isn't that right, my friend? Your Excellency, would you object if I were to conduct a closer examination of the gate? I will make no attempt to open it, of course. I owe you and yours a debt that can never be repaid. Whatever boon you ask of me, you shall have it. You are most gracious. I shall take full advantage of your permission. Would that I could join thee in thy study, but the Lawpirates will be anxious to receive my report. I beg my leave of you. And I must be off to Charlene as well. Mistress Cryo was eager to speak with you about that request, so please come back to the annex as soon as you are able. Farewell for now. We can discuss my findings once I return. You would not be rid of me so easily. You may now undertake the Chronicles of a New Era quest series, Myths of the Realm. Speak with the fresh-faced student at the Baldesian Annex to accept your first... Oh, the raids! Okay. The difficult part in all this will be deciding how best to put these riches to use. Will you lend me your assistance in these deliberations? Of course. Thank you, MSQ. MSQ and I are in this together. I will follow his example. Meanwhile, elsewhere. Thought that was Xenos for a second. I sensed the breaching of a gate, but it was not instigated from this side. It was thrown open from the other. I too felt it. A rare occurrence, yes, but such a tiny portal is beneath our notice. There are more pressing matters at hand. An opportunity is upon us, the coming of which we have waited nigh on 10,000 years. We dare not let it slip our grasp. Yet we must not underestimate he who has bested the cloud of darkness. Even restrained by a covenant, the cloud was no feeble wisp to be dispersed by some flesh and blood mortal. Let him come. I will drown the world and watch this fleshling gasp for breath in its final moments. Your zeal is admirable, but forget not our cause. Think back on our struggles beneath this sunless sky. Remember why we cede not our will to fight. This time we set the war in motion and win redemption for our star. Shall we begin? If we are to spend the treasure wisely, then we must first determine which groups would benefit most from monetary assistance. Some of my citizens may find it intimidating to speak with the satrap directly, so I would ask that you act in my stead. You are to visit Akyali and Yedlamad, speak with Matsya and his people, and listen to their grievances. Estinian, I bid you do the same at Palikastan. I will be conducting my own inquiries at the Giant Skull grounds. Once you believe you have ascertained the needs of the populace, we can reconvene at Megaduta. Oh, MSQ, I was so glad to see you had returned unharmed. You finished with the boat then? Anything the village desperately needs? Well, I suppose Kalzal's loss hit us the hardest. I've been trying to find buyers for my fish, but although I sell only a few here and there, it's so much more difficult than it was before. Everyone's still struggling to rebuild their lives. For now, we're just banding together as best we can. Greetings and welcome, traveler. If this is your first visit to Thavner, then you must try my special Amra Lassi. Its refreshing zest cannot be beat. What could, such a wonder cost, you wonder? Normally I part with 3 bottles for the generous price of 19,800 gil. But for you, I'm willing to go as low as an even 10,000. You'd be practically stealing from me. I am still not turning a profit these days. Times are harsh, my friend. The world may no longer be on fire, but we are still sifting through the ashes, so to speak. Sister, spare me. We might as well have the ugly tower back for the scant few travelers we see these days. I myself barely have the coin to buy at local prices. I tell you, if I didn't charge the odd adventurer a small fortune for afternoon tea, I'd be scavenging for scraps in the street. How fares the port? Well, it's in shambles, isn't it? The trade routes are open once more now that the danger has passed, certainly, but no small number of merchants have had to sell their ships to make ends meet in the short term, and to that the sailors we lost in the final days. And it's little wonder the flow of exports is no more than a pitiful trickle. If Kalzal and his consortium were still with us, I'm sure you'd found a way to turn our fortunes around. Now that was a man who got things done, and God's rest his soul. Oh, my atrocious loading times. Ah, my advisor's return. I've just made it back myself. Why do you retain this vessel now that your true form is known? You could have flown across the island in a fraction of the time. Be that as it may, the sight of a massive creature descending from the sky can be startling to say the least, and there are few places I can enter comfortably without risk of flattening some cart or stall. Fair enough. As for my inquiries, the people of Palakistan were unanimous in their reply. They are surviving. Resources were stretched to the limit when refugees were pouring in, but they preserved with some assistance from Yildimed. From what I understand, they have always been an independent community, hunters and foragers and the like, and I was assured that the jungle provides for their needs, for the most part. Palakistan has weathered the disaster better than most, it seems. I myself heard good news and bad. The quarrymen were cautiously optimistic, having such sold a fuel wagon of giant skull to a foreign trader. But such visitors are few and far between. Compared to our best years, the weight of stone leaving Thavner has been light indeed. Our nation is small and isolated, its prosperity dependent on a steady stream of exports. We must identify any obstacles to the flow of trade so we may begin working to remove them. Tell me, what did you learn in Akyali and Yedlamed? See, without a dedicated buyer, the average fisherman must struggle to offload his daily catch, which is why I believe we should first address the lack of ships and shortage of able-bodied sailors in Yedlamad. I'm reminded of a child I spied as I made my way back to the palace. His father lost at sea when the beast sunk their vessel. So many variations of the same tragic tale repeated over and over. So many lives lost. Enough grief to drown in, we let ourselves be overcome, but we will not. MSQ and Estinian, I will consider the perspectives you've brought me, and devise a plan to help my people confront this adversity. I would like you to be in attendance when I announce the proposal to my assembled functionaries.
I thank you for your attendance. The riches the Radiant Host have retrieved were hoarded in Al-Zadar's name. A fortune I set aside for a future day of need. And lo, that day hath come. May it aid our wounded city in reclaiming its vibrancy and vigor. In better times, I would leave such a task to our capable Ahawan. God's rest his soul. Finding myself bereft of his counsel in the here and now, I will assume the responsibilities of mine office directly. Firstly, the treasure shall be sold for more convenient currency. Thence, invested into the trading port of Yedlamad. Our merchants must have their operations restored, their ships rebuilt. Commerce must flow once more. None were spared the tragedy of the final days. Of this I am well aware. But an absence was created by the loss of Karazal's consortium. And by filling it, we provide new means for our fishermen, our artisans, and others to bring their wares to distant markets.
And what of the children who were left without family to care for them?
That is a concern which weigheth heavily upon my mind. The simple gift of coin will soon be exhausted,
which doth guarantee their welfare for years to come. Thou hast surely seen how other nations rise to meet this challenge, adventurer. What dost thou deem the wisest course?
Attack now. It takes a village. It takes a village. Fuck taxes. It takes a village.
Of course, we must all look out for one another. Let us put this idea into practice. A contract shall be written, requiring all who receive of Al-Zadal's treasure to commit a portion of their future earnings towards the running of an orphanage. Now, such an influential policy is deserving of a worthy name.
Something with Kalzal seems appropriate.
A fitting candidate. Kalzal should be remembered not as the blasphemy which terrorized Thavne, but as a hard-working and generous man who brought much wealth to our shores. Do any among you object to this proposition? Many here lost loved ones to the beasts.
In that time of strife, any one of us could have broken. Any one of us may have been taken by despair. When I think of Kalzal, I feel no hatred. Only a stinging regret that we could not save him as well. Isn't that right, men?
This bodes well for that boy. Mirad, was it? Perhaps he can cut ties with that shady peddler.
Then let it be done. Henceforth, this initiative shall be known as the Kalzal Foundation. Nabdeen, thou art to assemble a patrol and ensure that no child in this city liveth in squalor. Clerks, see to the management of our funds and make haste. Our citizens must not suffer a day more than is necessary.
Dragon and man, side by side in pursuit of a brighter morrow. Reminded of Ishgard.
Thank you for putting forth Kalzal's name. Those whose lives he enriched will take comfort in seeing his legacy honored. You'll forgive me for not speaking sooner, but I bear a message from Archon Ishtola. She asks that you meet her at the High Crucible at your earliest convenience. Understood, thank you. Ishtola must have finished her study of the Void Gate. Shall we hear what she has to say then? I will go with you. I thought the satrap would be too busy setting up the foundation. My clerks have been the well-oiled cogs of this administration since before Ahawan assumed the office. They understand what needs to be done, and I am curious to learn what conclusions your Archon has reached concerning the gate's unique construction. As you wish. Allow me to lead the way, Your Excellency.
Right, here we all are.
You discovered something new.
I took a closer look at that device. I was able to determine how it keeps the Void Gate sealed, but not how it might instead be employed to expand the opening. For that, I would need to reference the technique developed by Vritra's alchemists, no records of which appear to have survived the intervening years.
We know this, so why have you sent for us? Have you learned aught of value or not?
Patience, good sir. One must introduce the subject before launching into specifics. From what we understand, travel between worlds is accomplished by passing through the nebulous rift which exists between them. Picture, if you will, the moment you were called to the first. You touched a focus of some kind to help the Exarch pinpoint your location. His summoning spell then channeled the energies of the Crystal Tower to begin your journey to his world. The magics tore a hole in the wall separating source and shard, and cast you into the intervening nothingness. In that place, the laws of nature hold no sway. Yet even through this realm of temporal and spatial instability, you were borne safely to your destination in the first. The feat that guided you across such an unimaginable distance, both physical and metaphorical, was nothing short of a miracle.
Then what of the many voids Sen found in the source? Who guides them here, and how?
An excellent question. Though there are several methods by which the Void's denizens might intrude upon our world, the rituals of summoning are the most typical. For example, let us consider the Gargoyle, a creature of middling power. To call upon such an entity, the prospective summoner must force open a void gate. The portal lasts but a moment and is relatively small, allowing only an imp or other lesser being to squeeze through with their physical body intact. Our more powerful gargoyle, however, is too large for that. Creating a gate big enough for him would require vast amounts of energy, far beyond the reserves of any one mortal practitioner. Instead, 'tis far more common to bring over only the entity's soul. We had a taste of that ourselves when a certain exarch dragged us to the first. And just as our bodies remained in our world, the Void Sense physical form is left behind in the 13th. Once at its destination, the summoned soul is granted a temporary shell to inhabit. In the gargoyle's case, a stone effigy has proven a suitable vessel.
Wait. You said that Voidsent must be called here deliberately by someone in the source, reeled in like a fisherman with his catch.
Exactly. For a being to navigate the chaos of the rift, with or without form, there must needs be a guiding agent on the other side.
When the hordes poured forth from Alag's Great Gate, it was the technologists who drew them through. Though to my knowledge, planar fissures are in essence natural passages between our world and the void, which require no such guidance to traverse. Why is only the boundary between the source and the 13th so fragile? So much so that it often tears open of its own accord.
I believe solving that mystery is key to understanding travel between the source and its reflections.
And how do you intend to get your answers?
No, the danger is too great.
Perhaps, but what some call danger, others think of as adventure.
Were you not listening to my tale? Never mind that the means to expand the gate has been lost to the ages, even could you force the portal wide enough. You would be greeted by an army of murderous horrors the very instant you step through.
I assure you I was most attentive, and I agree that to go alone would be certain death. But if I were to bring along one who has already braved the 13th and humbled the cloud of darkness, well, I imagine my chances would be much improved.
Count me in.
I had a feeling you might say that. Once again, I put my life in your ever-reliable hands. That said, as much as I would like to march straight back to the Void Gate, there is the small matter of being unable to open it without the Satrap's personal authority.
As I've said before, I will grant you and yours any boon you choose to name, provided it does not endanger my people.
You have my word that we will take every precaution. Not a single void scent will be allowed to threaten Radzatan, assuming we manage to expand the portal in the first place.
You have a plan.
Actually, I had hoped you might help us with that. I presume the alchemists you retained supplied you with some explanation of their methodology.
That they did. House Daymir was overseeing the project.
Daymir. Ah, yes. The family associated with the great work.
I did not fully comprehend the theory, but their research began with a void scent which had slipped through the fissure. After a thorough examination, they created an arcane simulacrum possessed of similar qualities. A man-made void scent, if you will. It was apparently indispensable in their efforts to enlarge the gate.
A man-made void scent?
Yes. Being great admirers of the Archons, House Daymir submitted detailed notes to Charlene's official committee. They expected praise and accolades for their simulacrum, and were thus devastated to be informed that their work had been classified as prohibited material.
If that's true, then those notes might still be stored in a forbidden archive somewhere. Not Google, of course, since that library had yet to be built. Which leaves us with...
the restricted section of Numenon.
Yes, it may very well hold a copy. In which case, I say we head directly to Charlene.
Unless you anticipate needing help to reach the high shelves, I see myself being of little use. Go on ahead. I still need to find Mirad and tell him about the Kalzal Foundation.
Let us be on our way as well.
They are resolved to venture into the void. Do I sit idly by?
Back to Charlene. If we're to enter Numenon's restricted archives with a minimum of fuss, then we must secure the permission of the Forum. First, however, we shall need to enlist the cooperation of a member to broach the matter on our behalf. Who do you think might be inclined to assist us? No one springs to mind? What of Scarlock Monteshane? He did come to Groha's defense during the inquiry, after all. 'Tis settled. Let us head to Phenomenon and see if he's willing to help us once more. Visitors, and quite esteemed ones at that. What may I do for you? Pray forgive the intrusion, Skolak, but we are hoping you might help us secure permission to enter Nomonon's restricted archives. Oh, no furtive forays into the stacks this time, eh? I applaud this newfound sense of propriety. Yet in all this wild world of comparative serenity, what so compels you to disturb a vault of forbidden wisdom? Fascinating. I had no idea such a technique existed. I would have been surprised if you had. If my assumption is correct, the research left behind by House Damer has lain dormant in Charlene's archives for many centuries. And if you unearth this research, what then? Surely you don't intend to cross over into the void. That is in fact precisely what we intend. To what end, pray tell? To develop a method of traversing the rift, for one, that I might keep my word to a distant friend. Sentiment aside, I have journeyed to the end of existence. I have heard, felt, and thought endlessly about the truth of our world and the echo of its future. And yet I want to understand everything, to unravel it all down to its very last secret. What scholar worthy of the name wouldn't force open a void gate or two if a grand revelation was promised reward? Marvelous. An audacious proposal worthy of Master Matoya herself. And after hearing the whys and the wherefores, I for one do not believe you would use the knowledge for ill. I see no reason not to present your request to the forum's consideration. Although your petition would be better received if you also had the support of another well-placed acquaintance. Yeah, why, Master Fortunat, of course. He can hardly ignore an earnest request from his dear children's most treasured comrades. I was hesitant to approach him directly, but there is no denying that having Master Fortunat on our side would tip the balance in our favor. Very well, we will pay a visit to the Luvia estate and plead our case. One last thing before you go. I would consider it a personal favor if you might share with me the discoveries you make in the void. My appetite for knowledge is every bit as insatiable as yours, I'd wager. So if you could see your way to indulging an old man's curiosity. Of course, Skolak. We will be sure to pass on any revelations. To House Louvier. Master MSQ, Mistress Sistola, how may I be of service? We've come to speak with Master Fortunat. Is he home by any chance? Yes, the master is in his residence. I shall inform him that he has guests. Well, well. Ameliance would invite you inside for tea, but I assume this is not a social visit. You have some matter of import to discuss? Then pray proceed. You have my full attention. Well, I suppose I should praise you for following the proper protocols this time around. Scholar Montaigne expressed much the same sentiment. I assure you will not attempt to circumvent the forum's authority again, unless it is absolutely necessary, of course. Of course. You do understand that the restricted archives are restricted for good reason, yes? If no pressing need exists, then why risk the consequences of employing this forbidden knowledge? For a brother who misses his sister, she was his guardian and his friend, a selfless hero who crossed the rift between worlds to save her homeland from horror and suffering. but the brother has given up on thoughts of reunion. He spends his efforts elsewhere, watching over a people yet healing from the flames of the final days, loyal to his duty while betraying the longing in his heart. 'Tis no vital mission, perhaps, reuniting these siblings, but it feels a worthy cause to pursue all the same. As one who feared losing his own loved ones and spent years in research to prevent it, surely you appreciate how painful such a separation must be. Reflections are still very much a mystery to us. Offering to share your experiences in the first should constitute a fair exchange for our cooperation. Do not celebrate just yet. The forum must still be convinced. I will add your request to the list of today's deliberations and deliver the decision to you at the Baldesian Annex. So, what did the forum decide? To put it bluntly, Master Matoya has burned some bridges here in Shaolin and salted the earth for good measure. When it became clear that her student was the petitioner in question, well, no few members voiced their discontent. Then the chamber was reminded, in no uncertain terms I might add, of the incredible debt we owe to you and your companions. That served to silence the grumbles and stiffen a few spines, and it was agreed that allowing you entry to the archives was the least we could do in return. That is wonderful news. Thank you both for speaking on our behalf. Yes, well, as I am sure you are aware, this permission was not extended lightly. Forbidden knowledge is to be treated with the utmost caution, and there will be repercussions if it is not. I wish you well in your endeavor and bid you good day. Ever the same, that one. Uncompromising, aye, but that very stoicism, exactly what Charlia needed to guide it through not one but two exoduses. Alrighty guys, that's actually going to do it for this one. We will catch you in the very next one as we continue more post-Endwalker. As I speak right now, I believe we're hours away from maintenance for Dawn Trail. I might keep going tonight. We'll see. But if not, I'll definitely catch you guys in the next one. Happy trails, and I hope you guys enjoyed Dawn Trail as well.